Hey, what's up? My name is John Bonjour. I'm the writer and artist of the comic Edge of Bordertown, and today I'm going to show you how I write comics. It all starts with the best catalyst for creativity, caffeine. Then I'll assemble all the tools I need to get the work done. After that, I'm ready to hit the road. I can draw almost anywhere, but for my money, the hardest part of the creative process is the writing. It's quite literally staring at a blank page and making something out of nothing. And for that, I need to be in touch with the source of creativity. I believe art is a reflection of God. Some say it's Mother Nature, but whatever you believe it comes from, there's no denying the soul-healing power of fresh air and sunshine. I found that outside is where I get my best writing done, which is why I don't do it digitally anymore. Getting the ideas out on tangible paper just yields the best results. So I find a nice quiet spot, put on some good music. In this case, I'm listening to Ethan Reagan's album Cartilage, and get to work. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of my writing process, I think there are a few things worth noting overall about writing comics. Firstly, whether you're planning on drawing the comic or not, consider the artist when you're writing. What I mean by that is, if you hand them a script with a page that has 13 panels, each of which has an action and a large amount of detail, you risk two very important things: the readability of the comic, and quite possibly your life, depending on the volatility of the artist. This also applies to page numbers. There's a time and a place for long graphic novels, but make sure that the story you're writing is worth the hours and hours it will take to draw. As a rule of thumb, never write a story in 30 pages that could be told as well in 15. Also, comics are all about balance. Balance of tone, pacing, action, drama, design, ego, deadlines, and so many other elements. Getting a good comic done is a tightrope walk over a 1,000-foot drop. There are hundreds of things that, if off balance, can send the whole project careening over the edge. And that starts with the writer. The concept, the story, the pacing, all relies on a steady hand writing the book. And that takes a lot of practice and a lot of research. If you want to write comics, read comics, and watch movies or plays. Take in more art, and your art will be more well-rounded as a result. And finally, remember that this is a visual medium. Very long-winded monologues are wonderful for podcasts and plays, and there can be a place for them in comics. But you want to make sure first and foremost that your writing values the strengths of a comic book. No other medium gives you the same ratio of text and image, so use it wisely. And remember to write action scenes that are as fun to read as your dialogue scenes. Now, getting to my personal process. I have the luxury of writing for an artist I know like the back of my hand, because he is the back of my hand, and the front of my hand, and my whole me. I'm talking about me, in case that wasn't clear. And because I write for myself, I get to forego some of the more professional styles of writing. For Edge of Bordertown, I haven't written a single script for any of the chapters. And seeing as I'm starting to write Chapter 7, something tells me that probably won't change. Instead, I start with a rough outline of the main events of the chapter. This helps me get an idea of how long the issue will be and if it tells a cohesive story. This is where the major story work is done, where the themes and character arcs get the most development. In this phase, I might write something like, "There's a big fight here," and call it a day. The specifics of dialogue and action will come in the next phase. Once I'm happy with where the story lands, and sometimes that can take quite a while, I move on to thumbnails. This is where the more intricate writing happens. I begin to blend the writing and drawing portions of the book because as I figure out the pacing of each page and the story, I'm also working through the paneling of the pages. How many panels are on a page and in what arrangement for readability. This used to be significantly harder for me, but over the years, writing this way has become secondhand. It helps me to find the voices of each character, the layout of the book, the dynamic moments of action. As I'm working through the thumbnailing, I consider which moments are the most visually exciting or interesting and what should be a full-page spread. I try to have at least one poster-worthy page in each chapter, but in the case of Chapter 6, I have at least 3. I repeat the thumbnailing process for each page of the book, writing the dialogue underneath, until the issue is done. After that, I'll go back through it, make sure that it reads well and doesn't have unnecessary fluff, and if I'm happy with it, it's off to the races with the art. In the end, the reason I write using this process is because it helps me to listen to the project. I firmly believe that every creative project has almost a life of its own. If I'm listening closely, a comic can go in a direction I never expected. For instance, Chapter 4 of Bordertown follows an entirely new protagonist. The story almost developed itself out of an idea that originally included the main protagonist of the book, Q. But eventually, I realized that while it wasn't his story, it was good enough to be in the book. And that's the balance. I have also had plenty of ideas that seemed to want to be written, but they weren't a good fit. My job as a writer is to sift through the ideas that are growing within the story and nurture the ones that work. Those ideas become story, and that story becomes a comic. It can be a daunting challenge starting to write comics. Hell, it's daunting when you've done it for years. But I promise, the more you do it, the easier it will get, and eventually you'll get to the point where you look back on the work you've done and maybe, just maybe, you don't hate it. That's the best I can do for a lot of my work. When I look back on it, I see the flaws, not the art. But once I put the page out there for the world to see, it isn't really mine anymore. It's theirs. I made it, but the people who love and support it, they're the ones that matter. They're the ones keeping it alive. And if I made art just for myself, I would waste the time and the gifts given to me by God. It's easy for me to forget that my work isn't mine, that my time isn't mine. I didn't come up with any of this on my own. I'm just honored to be able to steward the garden of stories that got us here. So go out there with a pen and paper, write something, write anything. It probably won't be great at first. Mine certainly weren't. But write something. And once you've written something, write something else. And once you've finished with that, write something else. Just keep writing, keep drawing, keep creating, keep making comics, because the world is pretty harsh. It's not a wonderful place to be right now for a lot of people. And if I can lessen that pain for people even slightly with art, I think that's worth doing, don't you? Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to read Edge of Bordertown, it would really mean a lot to me. It's on my website, jonbonart.com, jonbonart.com. It is 100% free, and it always will be. That is important to me, that comics are for everyone, so I want people to be able to read it. So if you're interested, please go give it a look. And if you write something, please send it my way, because I'm excited to read what everyone's writing. This world has the opportunity to be beautiful, at least in moments, and I think through art, we can make it that way.